everyone. How are you doing tonight? So tonight's a very special night. We have a long list of presenters for you. They have very interesting stories to tell, at least from my perspective, and can't wait for you guys to hear them. For the last few weeks, I had the opportunity to work with these Nelson Mandela Fellows, and it's been a sort of a privilege and honor, and I've already learned so much from them. And I hope you can just sort of take away what I've been able to learn from them over the past few weeks in these few presentations. So without further ado, are we ready to begin? Okay. Okay. So our first presentation of the night is the title of that presentation is called Autism Advocacy: My Journey in Becoming a Voice.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I am Uluwamotoketitilokbe, and I am from Nigeria. So the story I want to tell today is not my story. But before that, let's take a little background at who I am. Who I am, the laugh, the geek girl. So I started using glasses when I was 13 years old, and in my community then, using glasses was not something to be proud of. So I was this girl. One day, I wasn't using glasses in classroom, and the next day, I came to the classroom with glasses. So people were like, what happened to you? Okay, so they don't want to come near me so that they don't break my glasses, and so many other things like that. Then the second thing is, I have aphasia of speech. Like, I find it difficult to pronounce long words. So for example, when I was growing up, I will pronounce Mozambique as Mozambique. I will pronounce this word in the scripture, ecclesiastes, as escalation. I don't know if that makes sense to you. And because I have this kind of speech impediment, which I never knew it was, people will just make fun of me. So I find it difficult to talk in public places because I will be like, they are not actually listening to me. They just want to listen to the errors that I will make so that they can laugh. The next thing is I have rhotacism, which makes it very difficult for me to pronounce the sound "r." So if I'm talking to you, the sound "r" might be missing in my words, and sometimes when I've said some few things, people will be like, what did you just say? And I just have to repeat myself over and over and over again. And I am that average school girl. So I did very well in school. I excel in French. But in my other subjects, I was a little bit not too smart. For example, one of our fellows from Zimbabwe, Anuziva, we've been here for the past 5 weeks, and I never knew she was from Zimbabwe. I thought she was from Tanzania. Like, every day she says Zimbabwe, my brain tells me it's Tanzania. And on Sunday while we were talking, I'm like, Anuziva, I thought you were from Tanzania. She said, no, it's Zimbabwe. I'm like, okay, just don't talk about it. But despite all this, I do two things very well. I spent a quite number of my time volunteering. Like, I love to volunteer. I could volunteer all my life doing anything from orphanage homes to hospital to children with disability, whatever it is. I just like to volunteer my time. And during one of my experiences, volunteering my time, I came in contact with a group of children and some places where, so in my country, Nigeria, after 1 year of service in school, you go for a service in some places that you are not familiar with. So getting to these places, it really inspired me to become the next thing on that slide, which is founder. So after all this journey, I came to found my own organization called the Autism Awareness Place. Like I said, this is not my story. The story I want to tell today is that my passion came from the community of mothers who are struggling to give their children the best and a fair chance to live without fear of what the futures hold for them. In my country, autism is not a known word for people. People believe that the children are either being possessed by an evil spirit or the parents are being punished by God for what they have done wrong, so God gave them those children. And it's so sad that people don't even know what this autism is. So my own passion came after reading a story of a woman online who has a child with autism. I think she had enough, and she took to her social media and just to talk about everything she was passing through. And to me, at that point, I got to realize that we all have our disability. It might not be glaring, it might not be visible, some disability might not be well pronounced like others, but if we check our lives, we will see that we all have our own disability that is special to us. And if that be the case, it doesn't matter who has it. It doesn't matter who is affected by it. If one person is affected by it, we are all affected by it. So I decided to become a voice to change the face of autism in my country. The Autism Awareness Place, what I believe this organization means to me is that each child counts and each child can learn, irrespective of their disability, their environment, or their mental health condition. Disability is a rainbow, different color, each beautiful. We are all different. Our skin colors are different. Everything about us, it is different. But we all come together to make the world a better place. I have a voice, and that voice is to make a change. I do not have any family member with autism. I do not have any relative with autism, but to me, it doesn't matter. What matters most is that I can do something I'm passionate about, and this is it. Once you segregate a child, you also segregate the whole family. Once you segregate a child with disability, or you segregate a child because of their skin color, or because of their tribe, or because they are not tall, or because they are not fat, or because they don't look beautiful or handsome to you, just know that you are not just segregating the child. We are segregating the whole community, the whole tribe, the whole family, generation, and lineage where that child comes from. Inclusion, to me, is the new therapy. In conclusion, when we naturally see people as who they are, we automatically understand and accept differences, which is disability. Autism isn't the tragedy, ignorance is. So my question to us is, if not you, who? If not now, when? Thank you.
Are you moved? Yeah. Wait, there's more coming. Raise your hand if you believe you have a disability of some sort. I agree. Thank you. Let's be real.
Okay. First off, I want to thank Motoke for that excellent presentation. Our next speaker will be, now I've been butchering this young lady's name since she's gotten here. Let me see if I can say it right now. Nankateko Mansenga. And she's going to be presenting for us destigmatizing mental illness. I butchered it again, didn't I?
Good evening, everyone. It's such an incredible honor to be standing in front of you all. My name is Nkateko Priscilla Masinga. When I think of voices, I think of voices that have been silenced, and one of those voices are the voices of mentally ill individuals. So I would like to start off with a poem. A Doctor's Guide to Regression in the Psychiatric Ward. When your patient steals her caregiver's ring and pawns it for a fix, you must say, "This is not how a testimonial is supposed to read for an outpatient. And her disinhibition and inappropriate smiling are not good signs. Let's book her in for observation." Step 2. When she threatens her mother, you must say, "This is not how family feedback is supposed to read for an inpatient getting weekend leave. And her disinhibition and inappropriate smiling are not good signs. Let's take away her privileges. Put her in Ward 6. Step 3. When she stabs a nurse, you must say, "This is not how a progress report is supposed to read for a patient wanting to remain in an open ward. And her disinhibition and inappropriate smiling are not good signs. Let's move her to a closed ward." Step 4. When she develops insomnia and anxiety, you must say, "This is why we have drugs. Serenades is to serenade her to sleep at night. Disipal is to make her worries disappear during the day." Step 5. When a colleague asks you, "Why is your patient screaming? Why is she grinding her teeth? Why does she have a pill-rolling tremor?" you must say, "Last resort. Let's give her clozapine, or refer her for pastoral counseling. Besides, the prophets said that there would be weeping and gnashing of teeth, but not like this." That is a poem from my second book called A War Within the Blood, which deals with depression and other mental illnesses, as well as the stigmatization of people with psychiatric illnesses. And I'm not speaking just as a healthcare provider working with mentally ill people. I'm speaking as a patient, or what we call a mental health care user, or MHCU, in South Africa. In the year 2007, at the age of 15, I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and I was hospitalized in a private psychiatric facility known as Denmark Psychiatric Hospital. Not long after that, the money in our medical aid, or the South African equivalent of health insurance, ran out, and I was then moved into the public healthcare system in a place known as Ward 16. It was one ward in an entire hospital, and all of the mentally ill patients were in that ward. At the age of 15, I was with all of the mentally ill patients in the entire hospital. And I saw the vast difference between how patients are treated in public healthcare versus private healthcare. It's one of the main things that made me want to become a doctor. If we're going to have a conversation about destigmatizing mental illness, it really has to be a conversation. We need to look at each other in the eye. We tend to look down, scroll through our phones. We ask people how they are, but we don't really care or wait for the answer. And when someone commits suicide, we ask, why didn't they reach out? Why didn't they ask for help? But what if they did? What if just by making eye contact with someone, you could have seen that something was wrong? So I am not ready to have a conversation about destigmatizing mental illness if we're not having a conversation about destigmatizing vulnerability. If we're not having a conversation about destigmatizing reaching out, asking for help. And I want to ask you, if the patient that I wrote that poem about isn't just a case study, if that patient is me, do you see me differently? If so, why? And if not, then I want to urge you to treat every single individual with any mental illness the same way that you have treated me in the past 6 weeks, not knowing that I suffer from a mental illness. Thank you.
I think I'm speechless. I need to process.
It was another great presentation. And for our next speaker will be Rudo Chakinyuka. And the title of her presentation is Film as a Tool for Social Transformation, Women Filmmakers in Zimbabwe.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's my great honor to be speaking in front of you today. My name is Rudo Chakanyuka. I'm from Zimbabwe, and I will be speaking today about the use of film for social transformation, where I'll be sharing with you the work that we do with the organization I'm part of, which is Women Filmmakers of Zimbabwe. Now, before we begin, I'd just like each of you to think about your all-time favorite film for a moment. Okay, and I would like you to think about the story within that film and the themes within that story. And I'd like you to think about what that film did to you. Did it change your life? Did it change how you see the world? And it's quite likely that your answer to those last two questions is yes, because film is very powerful and the media is also very powerful in actually influencing and shaping how the world looks at each other, how people behave, and how societies treat one another. It is more so true, especially for the film industry in this day and age, that film defines how gender roles and gender dynamics are within society, and also the issues of gender equality and gender norms. So going back to your favorite film, I'd like you to think about the characters within the film. Was the lead character a woman? How was she portrayed if it was a woman? If it wasn't a woman, if it was a man, how did he treat the women in the film, if there were any at all? I'd like you to think about who made the film. Was the film written by a woman? Was it directed by a woman? It's likely that we won't know who those last two people are, the director and the writer of the film. And this is something that I should let all of you know, that, well, you probably do know, that film is a male-dominated industry. And it wasn't until the year 2010 that the first woman won the Best Director Oscar here in America. So this is the truth everywhere across the world, and more so in my society, where it's a very patriarchal society. So in response to that, the few women who were in the film industry formed our organization, which is Women Filmmakers of Zimbabwe. And this was to try and get more women into the industry, to tell our own stories from our perspectives, and also to get the film viewing audience to understand women's stories through film. There's a saying that goes, film is the night school of the illiterate. So film is a medium that can reach anyone, regardless of what social background they are and where they live. And so we use film and making film our own stories to other people as a way of starting dialogue and discussions around the issues that are important to us and issues that matter in society. So this organization was started in 1996, and we've been doing a lot of work around trying to empower women to tell their own films. We do workshops all around the country. We try and lobby for women in the industry to be given a fair chance and a fair share. And one of the biggest things that we do to try and promote women in the industry is the film festival which we run, which is called the International Images Film Festival for Women. Now, I'd just like you to think about that word, images, because through film, we're trying to change the image or the perspectives that people have. When women are portrayed in film, usually it's been very negative. Women have been viewed as weak, as the weaker sex, as victims. But now we're trying to change that around and speak more positively about women and how we can be agents of our own change in our lives. So this is the film industry, and it's a growing industry. Each year we come with a different theme that talks about the issues happening within the society at that time. And this year in the 17th edition, our theme is reaching out. And this is speaking to, for example, the Me Too movement that's happened recently, where we're trying to get women to reach out to one another. We are also trying to reach out to other women to tell the stories that we have and to deal with the social issues that we do have. So this festival runs usually in August, over a week, and we show films, feature films, short films, documentary films, and after each film screening we have a discussion with the audience where we're discussing the themes and the issues within the films. So the films we select are usually made by women or they are about women. So that's our selection criteria for selecting films into the festival. And a lot of people have this misconception that men are not allowed to be part of the festival, but they are indeed, because we're also trying to engage them as we show films and have them change their mindsets and how they view women and treat women in their society. So the festival itself has now also got an outreach element, and we go out into communities, into schools, and we show films in various places. We show schools even in places that are usually nightclubs or what we call beer halls. We just have our screen up there. We have mobile theaters, and we show these films to wider audiences who might not be able to come through to our main festival, which is in Harare, in the capital city. So we go out to rural areas. We've even been going out regionally to other countries like Malawi and Kenya, Uganda and Somalia. And you'll find that in a lot of the places, the issues are the same and they need to be addressed. And this just goes to show that one woman's issues or one woman's story could affect and help another woman. And so with the power of film, we've really been able to do that. So that's about our film festival and our organization, the Women Filmmakers of Zimbabwe. And if you'd like to find out more, you can visit this website, Ikapa Trust. And Ikapa Trust is the bigger organization that includes women filmmakers and a production company called Mirai Films, which helps us to tell these stories. And you can visit the website ikapatrust.org/WIFOZ. And our Facebook page is Women Filmmakers of Zimbabwe, or you can follow us on Twitter. And we would really like everyone to be part of this journey as we help to tell stories and change societies. And also, I'll just add a story of what happened once when we showed a film in a school out in the rural areas in Chipinge, in Zimbabwe. We showed a short film about a young girl who was being abused by the principal of the school. And then in the post-screening discussion, we sensed a tension in the audience, and we couldn't figure out what that was. And then after the discussion, some of the students approached us and said, do you know that this very thing is happening in the school and it's being brushed under the carpet? No one's talking about it or doing anything. So after having shown this film, the students mobilized themselves and had a protest against this particular teacher, and that was when he was finally brought to book. So that really is the power that film has for transforming societies, and it even has longer reaching effects. So thank you very much for your time.
Inspirational.
So our next presenter will be a woman by the name of Grace Salih, and the title of her presentation is Journey Through the Lumps.
So before I start, good evening all. Before I begin, I would like to ask you a question. What are the two things that you see in a woman, the first two features that define a woman? Please, anybody?
Guys.
Yeah, and I need a male. Yeah?
Definitely the face.
Sorry?
The face.
Two features you look at.
Features, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
No,
face.
two features for you to try, two features you use to identify a male from a female. So everybody is shy to say that. And two. Alright. So today I'm going to be talking about the journey from lump. So when the lump appears, the experts will get to say things like, we are doing all we can, but there is no exact science for this. What you have is just a normal, what you have is something just normal. And people like you can live a normal and a healthy life. But this is bad news, because these things are cysts gathered in any specific area or any part of a human being. CANCER. The word I can say from start to finish, because with nearly 1.7 million new cases yearly, more than 50% of women die from dreadful, deadly condition. It has claimed the lives of mothers, sisters, women around the world. Breast CEACER, one of the second most common life-threatening diseases among women. CANCER. CANCER is when normal cells grow and spread quickly. Sometimes these cells grow together, forming tumor, causing damage to a very healthy body. Now, you see her? That's a bubbly little girl, but the picture doesn't really say that. So, at the age of 15, she noticed, or rather, she was diagnosed with 2 huge lumps in both breasts. And she's just a gentle, quiet, innocent little girl, and that was the beginning of her struggle and her journey, because she tends to hear the doctor say it was like malignant, was like benign, and having going through 5 procedures and trying to think what the histology results would be. That was really a frightening experience. And yes, she thought of so many times where maybe I should end my life, because what makes a woman, what are those futures that bring out a woman's beauty? So going through these struggles has really made her discover the fears of so many women. When they walk into the hospital and they're being told that, oh, you have CANCER, the fears that flushed her mind were exceeded her age. But at the end of the day, it's benign. So this is exactly how my mind felt when I heard the news. But then the doctor keeps on saying that, oh, we need to still look at your history, because it metamorphoses and it can change. Because it's benign, it doesn't mean the journey is over. Now that's how I feel about that. That's how my journey kind of ended, to cut a long story short. And yet I am certain that 6 out of 10 women die from the monster, and 4 of them are mostly mothers. Most women, we feel so proud of how we appear, we feel so proud of who we are, but deep inside you can never tell who is struggling and who is not. Some women have to have mastectomy and never get to breastfeed their babies. Some end up trying to battle or even being divorced out of their marriage or sent packing out of their marriage just because of these simple cases, or rather cases that goes out of control. These are not things that you can design for your life, or you've not destined yourself to be in such kind of conditions. It's a battle. It is not just a disease that strikes at women, it strikes at every heart of who we are as women. How others perceive us, how we perceive ourselves, and how we live. And one of the early signs of detection is that you feel a lumpy touch in the breast, charges in the nipple. That's when it goes to the secondary case, and then redness or swelling of the breast. And this is something I would encourage not only women but also men to educate their female friends, their sisters, or even their wives, because you can never tell who is passing through a whole lot of things. It's even difficult for young women to go into a clinic and say, oh, I need to be examined or something. And from where I come from, this is a story that is not being made public or not discussed, because it's being viewed as something that women are shy to talk about and, not to be stigmatized. And today, as I stand before you, and every other day I wake up, because I feel like I'm a survivor and I'm a success story, So I pledge to support any woman fighting this disease, to not discriminate in my effort based on race or religion. And I stand with you. You stand with me. Together, we can have breasts without lumps. To those fighting, you are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and twice as beautiful as you imagine. Because I also want to believe that within this room we'll find maybe some cases that we've never heard of, and it's hidden. Because you beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and the manner in which you live. CANCER. Thank you for your audience.
Thank you, Grace, for your presentation. Our next speaker is a young woman by the name of Doris Habib, and her presentation title is named Mentorship.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, let's try this again. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Please tell your neighbor to pay attention.
Thank you.
Come on, tell your neighbor to pay attention. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Dr. Nora Louie and your very able team for organizing tonight's talk. My name is Doris Habwe, and I am from Kenya. I am an advocate for persons with disabilities, amongst very many other titles that I got. When we were given an opportunity to speak tonight, I was like, what do I talk about? And I had in mind the same small group that we normally have here, like 25 of us. I stand in front of everybody, and I speak, and I sit down, you know. I didn't have it in mind that we'll be this big. So when you should have just seen me preparing, me and my roommate and some of us preparing for tonight's show, and we were all shaky, and everybody was trying to find something to console themselves in. And I was telling my roommate, do you think that I'll do good? She's like, you'll be fine. And I'm like, okay, fine. Even if I won't be good, at least I need to look good, right? She's like, come here, Doris. Just calm down. Just go do it. You're talking about a topic that you're passionate about, a topic that you go home and talk about every day. Forget about everything else, just go do it. Most of the big names that we have had attest their success to the fact that they had a mentor in their lives, right? This beautiful team that we have here represents the 25 of us from different parts of Africa. The challenges that we went through, the people who walked through with us, the people we call mentors, made it possible for us to get to where we are today. That's why I picked on the mentorship topic. Allow me to talk about one of the fellows that we have with us here today, one of the 25 of us. His name is John Chitty. John Chitty lives in Zambia. As he was growing up all his life, he felt different. Everybody from his family made him feel different. His schoolmates made him feel different, just because he stood out because of his color. He's a person living with albinism. It affected his performance in school. It affected how he associated with people. It affected everything about him. One day he woke up in the morning and he felt like he's had enough. He needed to talk to somebody. He approached one of his favorite uncles and told him, look, everybody is laughing at me. I don't even know whether I belong to this family. And his uncle was really smart, I think because of his experience. That is also one quality of a mentor. And his uncle told John, look, what do you want? And John said, my problem is that I'm too light. I'm too light-skinned and I stand out when I'm in a crowd, because Africa, of course, we're dark-skinned. And John's uncle took him and stood with him alongside by the road, and he's like, pick a color that you want. Then people will be passing by, and John is like, he's too dark, and someone else passes, and he's like, no, I don't like that color. And then someone passed, and John was like, that is the complexion that I want. He's not too bright, he's not too dark, he's just okay. And his uncle told him, John, do you know what you will do? Because right now we're not able to buy you this cream that you use to apply on your skin to become darker. And what you need to do, you need to work harder, you need to perform better in school, you need to up your grades, because that cream is not it's not really cheap, it's very expensive. What did the uncle do to John? He boosted his spirit, he gave him courage, he nurtured him to be the person that he is today. In Zambia, he is the first albino musician in his country because somebody worked with him. What do we learn about characters of a mentor, or what does mentorship do to you? It manages relationships. Like in the story that we just learned, John he could hang out more with people. It boosted his social life. He was encouraged, he was nurtured, he was well taught, mutual respect, and the most important thing is that his uncle met his needs at that time. My take home is this is what I will finally close with. We live in a world whereby things are so competitive. You'll always wake up in the morning and come across somebody who's better than you, somebody who speaks better than you, somebody who looks better than you, somebody who has all the better qualities than what you have. What I'd like to advise each other is that stand in for somebody. If you notice a problem, don't go around just saying, oh, did you see something like that happen? Stand in for that person. Talk to them, find out what they're going through, how you can help. You never know what gives you ideas to get somebody out of a situation. To me, that's what mentorship is all about. Trying to improve somebody's life. At the same time, you're improving your own life. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. So our next presenter is a woman by the name of Ayaba Gloria, and the title of her presentation is Motherhood, Crossroad of Life and Challenges.
Hi everyone. Hi. I expected to be the last. What is Ayaba?
Ayaba.
Ayaba.
Correct.
Good. My name is Ayaba Gloria Ganyoto, and I'm one of those people who believe that the power of a country is determined by its health system, right? The well-being of its mothers. I am graduated in medical imaging and radiobiology, and in my country, I can practice ultrasound exam on pregnant women. And I can tell you, it's amazing to see how baby is moving. And on September 2017, I received a patient. At that moment, the baby was fine. The heart was beating, and it was good. But 2 weeks later, I was shocked to hear that that lady lost her baby during a childbirth. How is it possible? We are in the 21st century. It's impossible. But unfortunately, the thing is what? Sometimes you can lose your baby, but sometimes the mother can lose her life during childbirth. And maternal mortality is one of the biggest challenges that many African countries are facing today. According to the World Health Organization, there are 830 women who die every day across the world, and 99% of maternal death occur in developing countries, like Mali, for instance. And the risk of maternal mortality is 1 out of 39 in developing countries and 1 out of 4,300 in developed countries. Why this inequality? Why? It's very simple. It's due to the availability of maternal care and the lower financial resources of the population. And sadly, you know, there are 1 billion children who become orphan, and they are obliged to grow up in the orphanage without their mother's love. And it is proved that a child who lost her mother's shirt risks until 10 times larger death premature other than other children. It's really sad. In my country, Benin, my beloved one in West Africa, our government tried to improve. Our government tried to improve the health care system by doing what? By adopting in 2009 the free C-section. But the real question is what? Through that free C-section, do pregnant women receive the adequate care? I will answer no. And personally, I think that free C-section exposed them to the slowness of some health professionals. I mean some midwives. Yeah. And I personally believe that with the assistance of qualified personnel before, during, and after a childbirth, we can save women's lives, and also we can save the newborns' lives. In my country, we have 77 provinces, and there are only 34 district hospitals. How can we cover all the care? Do you think it's possible? I don't. No. For me, the solution is that one, mobile clinic. If we can have 2 mobile clinics per province, that would be helpful. We can go through community, provide care to those pregnant women who don't have the financial resources to access to adequate care. This is my solution. We all want to give birth without being afraid. And for that, we must unite our skills and invest in our health system. It's important. The government alone can't do everything now. Don't count on it. But you, and also you and I, we can invest in our health system and make it better. I am a woman also, and I want to become mother. But I don't want to be afraid about childbirth. No, I want to feel the joys of giving birth and having my baby. That's what I want. For that, we should work. It's important to work and make our health system better. Let us give the opportunity to our children to grow up by our side. Let us give the opportunity to our sister and to ourselves to be excited by the idea of being mother. Let us be the real mother for the future leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. So our next presenter, ironically, is myself. So you see, I'm not as good of a presenter as the people that went before me, so I'm just gonna hide behind this podium because I had a whole bunch of notes and everything prepared. Okay. Okay, so the title of my presentation is Our Experiences as Medical Volunteers in Guatemala. Before I begin my presentation, let me talk a little bit about myself. I'm a third-year PA student at Wagner College, and this year I actually had the chance to go on Wagner's annual medical mission trip to Guatemala. Now you see the area circled in green is the area where we actually conducted our medical mission, and that area is called Soledad, Department of Southwest Guatemala. Now, it's home to a huge lake called Lake Atilian, which is surrounded by a number of smaller municipalities where we conducted our medical mission. You can see from this beautiful picture, like Guatemala is like one of the greatest countries you could ever hope to visit. Like it's very picturesque. It's known for its amazing mountain ranges and volcanoes. But also, something I would like to mention is because of the country's poverty and corruption, its healthcare system is pretty much non-existent. Now you see, the picture on your left was taken at Sinai University Hospital, and the picture on your right was taken at a local hospital in Guatemala. Now, both facilities in these pictures have the same agenda. These are both neonatal intensive care units, and from the jump, what do you notice? The picture on the right, or the hospital in Guatemala, they have less computers, less baby incubators, less respiratory support devices, as well as baby monitors. But I just want to give you a scenario. So if you were a mother and you just had, unfortunately, given birth to a premature baby, just think, like, which place in this picture would your child, or which hospital would your child have the best chance of life at? The picture on the right or the picture on the left? Exactly. Okay. So the reason why I showed this picture, the point I really want to bring up is that it doesn't matter how far we come in terms of medical advances. If you do not have access to those medical advances, as far as you're concerned, they don't exist, right? And I think, in my opinion, and others I'm sure will agree with me, is that I think the lack of access to advanced medical technology is one of the reasons why infant mortality rates are so high in the developing world. And although these two pictures don't tell the whole story of the healthcare system disparity in America versus Guatemala, it's very important because the developing world needs more access to these modern medical technologies, as well as better training and education for medical providers. And although the purpose of our trip, medical mission, wasn't to focus on this aspect of Guatemalan health, I just thought it's very important since it's such an important topic in the developing world. So let me our mission. So our mission pretty much focused on setting up outposts in different communities, providing clinical medicine to whoever walked into the outpost on that particular day. So our job was to take medical complaints, diagnose illnesses, and provide treatment with whatever anti-inflammatories or antibiotics we had. We worked heavily with organizations called, one in particular, San Lucas, which is an organization that, a national and local Guatemala organization that helps to fill the healthcare gaps in rural areas of Guatemala. And so pretty much in Guatemala, for about a week period, we worked at different clinical sites near the lake. And this is a picture of one outpost we visited in particular. And now I'm being generous when I say these places are clinical outposts, because as those who went on the trip with me, these places weren't outposts. They're just pretty much old gymnasiums, abandoned churches, no access to running water, no like electricity. So we often, you guys were there in the trenches with me, like we had to work in the dark. We had limited resources, but we got the job done somehow. And a lot of that was good teamwork. And this is just one picture of another outpost. So each day we pretty much set up at that particular outpost. We would break ourselves into teams, each assigned with a certain task or at a certain station. For example, 3 or 4 people would get together and maybe focus on registering patients who are coming in, or another team of 3 or 4 people we doing vitals, finger stick, physical exam, or pharmacy. And the next day we just pretty much alternate our duties. And this is just some pictures of the team working hard. And I think when the trip to Guatemala, when I came back, there was a few stories I wanted to tell about my trip. And I'm sure many of you who went on a trip would agree with me. So the first story I have is called The Happy Children and the Broken Toys. So on our second day, we actually got the chance to visit a Guatemalan orphanage. Now this isn't the picture of the actual children we saw because we weren't allowed to take any pictures. But this picture serves as a good substitution. So let me just describe you the scene of when you walked into that room. So when you walked into the room, the kids are probably no more than maybe, I want to say 5 or 6 years old. They're like maybe 10 or 15 of them. And when you walk in the room, they're so interested in seeing new strangers that they'll grab you by the hand, pull you along. They wanted to talk to you and wherever else. They were all happy and smiling. And it was so amazing how they were so excited to see us. But one of the things I've noticed, the longer you stay there, the more reality tends to set in, especially the reality that these children have to face every day. Many of the toys they were so anxious to show us were old, broken, many action figures missing limbs, they were dirty, and the so-called beds that they have were just like old mattresses on a like hard tile floor. And you really get the idea that these kids are in such a bad situation, and even though they were in such a bad situation, they were still happy, they were still excited. And I think that it speaks to one of the things about the human condition. I think it's that no matter like where kids grow up, what background they come from, or what socioeconomic status they come from, they all want to smile, laugh, and play. And that's one of the things I picked up from the trip. And it just makes you grateful. It made me especially grateful about the background I grew up. I was fortunate to grow up at, where I grew up at, and the family support that I have. And I'm sure many of you in this room would agree with me. My next story is actually something a little on a lighter note. It's called The Old Man and a Pair of New Glasses. So during our last day volunteering in Guatemala, we actually finished volunteering at this one community center. And when we were done seeing patients, I was just walking into the room, and this little old Guatemalan man came up to me. He could barely walk correctly, and he started to shake my hand. And now I'm sure everybody in this room, who went on a trip with me, they know that my Spanish is terrible. So I was just he was here shaking my hand. I was like, okay, yeah. I was just pretending I knew what he was talking about. But after the man left the room, a few of my classmates came up to me and told me the story behind that old man. And as it turns out that I think for the last 5 to 8 years, he wasn't able to see correctly because the glasses that he did have weren't corrective vision glasses. So he was not able, so everything he saw was blurry pretty much, right? He wasn't able to see the smiles on the faces of his grandchildren, his wife, his children. And and after we gave him a new pair of glasses, we were actually able to restore his vision of sight. He could see clearly. He could see his loved ones' faces, and he was just so ecstatic that this opportunity happened to him that he wanted to shake all of our hands, and I happened to be the one oblivious one, knowing not what's going on. And I think the story is very funny because oftentimes as students, we always think about, what's the most complex, what's the best solution to handle this most complex problem. But this problem was very simple. We didn't have to perform any eye surgery or any open brain surgery, anything like that. We just gave the guy a new pair of glasses, and that just changed his whole life. And I think that this again just made me grateful. Although we've each as PA students, we've all experienced stress and the problems that come with taking multiple exams, rotations, and everything else. But it just made me really grateful for what I have, and I'm sure you guys think the same. And another story I have, I know this is a very weird picture, right? Why am I showing you a picture of a toilet at this presentation? But it's very important, actually. I just wanted to put this picture just of an outhouse of one clinical outpost we were at in Guatemala. And after you're seeing this toilet, I came to the quick realization that giving out medicine is not enough. It's something called the sanitation gap, and it's pretty much the sort of the sanitation level in the developing world versus the first world countries. And if you actually think about it, a lot of waterborne diseases are very prevalent in the developing world just because of this exact reason, this toilet. They don't have access to the quality of plumbing and sewer systems that we do. So things like hepatitis A, typhoid, cholera are very big problems in places in the developing world like Guatemala, and especially in rural areas where there isn't a lot of access to clean water. And this is me. This is the group I had the opportunity to go to Guatemala with. And finally, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Wagner PA class of 2019. These last 2 years have been one of the most amazing experiences of my life, and it's been a pleasure to share these experiences with you guys. And we just have a little less than a year to go, and I'm just excited for how this year is going to go, and just keep pushing. We got this. Love you guys too. So our next presenter is a woman by the name of Lucia. The title of her presentation is Resilience Through Dreams.
So I'm Lucia Cardoso from Cape Verde Islands. I'm a singer and I love flowers. Because my country is very, very dry. One of our biggest problems is constant droughts. So for me, a flower is like the symbol of hope and abundance. I come from this little place in Africa. You can't see it because depending on the scale of the map, we're not there. It's not possible to feature us. So we are #1 smallest country in Africa. And as you can see, we're isolated. We're in the middle of the ocean. And we receive the winds from the Sahara Desert. So it's very unfair because we are going through a desertification process as years go by. And we are the ones who send you the famous Cape Verde hurricanes. We're so sorry for that. So I come from an archipelago of 10 islands. They're all very different, and one of them has no body, so it's a desert island. The one you think it's very exotic. So my country is a country of contrast. We have very flat islands with beautiful beaches. We have a lot of mountains. We have an active volcano that just erupted in 2014, I'm sorry, and 97 and before. So from time to time, we have excitement. And we have only 2 seasons, the dry season and the rainy season. But the rainy season just lasts 2 months. But now it's been lasting like 15 days. And it's like half an hour rains. So I don't know why you're laughing, this is serious. Because as you can see, my country looks like this the whole year. And then suddenly it looks like Hawaii. And then we go back to this. But we are a country of dreamers. As you can see, we are used to both scenarios. And we are a country of singers and musicians. We usually say that the Cape Verdeans eat rocks for a living, and we cry contemplating the ocean because we're stuck there. We're stuck. We're like little rocks in the middle of the ocean with volcanoes exploding and no rain. We usually say the rain cannot find us. We're so small because the clouds, we see the rain going in the ocean, but not on land. So our biggest diva is Cesaria Évora, Madonna's favorite singer, actually. I don't know how come. But she put us on the world map. So our country was considered the country of impossibilities when we claimed our independence in 1975 because we had no resources. So the international community was telling us, hey, you better continue as a colony because you have no way of surviving. You know, you cannot produce anything. You have no oil, you have no minerals, you have no water. So what will you do? We usually say that the Cape Verdeans live on faith because the land looks like this. This is kind of green actually, like that. When we sow, that's what you say when you plant the seeds. And then we just hope for the rain to fall. And it does, sometimes. So, today I'm going to talk about how you can overcome trauma through sheer dreaming. Just through that. Because I believe, and I am a practical case, that just by dreaming, and when I say dream, is visualize a future that is not there. That by logic, you would not see it, you would not believe it, and people will try to tell you that it's not reasonable. I will make the case that it is. I don't know why, it's just is. So while the education, I don't know if you know this method from Rudolf Steiner, a very holistic and spiritual educator from Germany, he divided life into 7 development stages. And the 2 first stages, from 0 to 7 years old and from 7 to 14, he said it was very important to nurture the capacity or the ability of the child to dream So when you go into a class, you must start with a poem, a song. Because in these two phases, the child must believe the world is good and the world is beautiful. Because then in the third phase, at 21, the child sees that the world is real. And if you do not have these two, you don't have the tools to deal with the real world. So when trauma occurs in this phase, whatever kind of trauma it is, it damages the child's ability to believe, trust, and dream of a bright and powerful future. The person becomes cynical. The person becomes competitive. The person thinks that you have to reach out for yourself because the world is bad and people are coming to get you. And you become a bad element also. Or you want to escape somehow through drugs. We know all the kinds of escape there are. So my father was a revolutionary politician and a great composer and musician, and he was brutally assassinated in Cape Verde in 1989. In such a way that to this day nobody knows how this happened. The Interpol went to investigate. It's the biggest scandal and taboo of Cape Verde. We've had a number of books written about it, but people really loved him because he was trying to open up the country to a second party, and he was responsible for the digital transformation of the public administration. He was in the end of his career, and he was really a bright, genius leader. So they made a stamp in his honor. So he was someone that was really loved because they were afraid he would become the next prime minister. Then he was assassinated. And that was their issue. I was 6. I was happy. And my trauma began here. After this, I got very, very sick from, I don't know, epiphysiology from the hip. Are you familiar with that? The hip comes out of the socket. It normally happens to newborns, and then you fix it. But they don't know why in Cape Verde it has happened to children around 9, 11. So I was a gymnast and a dancer, and it happened to me. And somehow they don't know why, and through many medical errors, from 9 to 15, I was in crutches, in wheelchairs, surgeries, in and out of hospitals. I was told I would never ever walk again. So I didn't believe them. So this was me being crazy at the time. I didn't believe them, and I did everything they told me not to do. And somehow I was able to walk. So even my orthopedist, he said, we must take you to a congress. I said, only if I present my case, because I know what I did, you don't. So what I did is I believed that somehow I was not disabled until I became abled. And then they told me that I would have chronic pain for the rest of my life. I wouldn't be able to conceive a child because I had many x-rays without protection here through more than 5-6 years continuously. And even I could not carry the pregnancy and many other things. And the doctor who told me this, he was very rude. Thank God, because then I said, okay. And I didn't do anything he told me. And my mother was very worried. This child is delusional a little. But then I was able to study dance for many years, to wear my heels. Today it hurts more, but I wore them for many years. And I studied dance for 15 years, contemporary dance. So I said, if I'm going to be crippled again, I might as well do it while I can. So they told me at 20, I'd be back for good in the wheelchair. I'm 35. We're still dodging that. So I became a singer because I believed that music was actually the resource we had. And in Cape Verde, we had no music schools. And I was running the first music department of the university, but I had no budget. So I decided to go against my government and become an activist and demand that they invest in musical education and not just have the title for UNESCO or whatever, but really do something. And that's how I started to advocate for artistic education, because it's not only important for the economy of the country, it's important for the personal human development, most of all. And our great resource is the human being in every country, especially in Cape Verde. So, going on, I was involved in social causes for human rights, and only now I realized by doing this presentation that this was human rights. By then it was very painful to me because they asked me, I was becoming famous, and they asked me to use my image and tell the story of my father. Was very personal, and in Cape Verde it's still a taboo. So this hurt a lot to do, but I felt I had to do it because it was about a responsible paternity, for people to register their kids. We have a great problem, I think, in whole Africa. Fathers don't take responsibility. So actually, these people are saying that I never grew up with my father, I don't have his name in my ID card, and these are the ones saying, our father is amazing. And I'm saying, and everybody knows who my father is, I'm saying my father was my biggest inspiration, and when I have to take serious decisions, I think about him. Because here I was a very credible person, seen as the university professor, as the activist. So it was not easy for me to come out with my childhood trauma. I don't know if you get me. Like, it was something very, very personal. So I cried like 10 times before we could do a normal take.
Minha mãe nunca esteve presente na minha vida. Foi difícil. Minha mãe nunca esteve presente na minha vida. Foi difícil ter crescido sem ela.
A mim, até não a minha pai, nem a bilhete de identidade.
Nosso pai é pai todo dia.
Meu pai foi a maior referência da minha vida. O que me decide alguma coisa, é nele que ainda pensa, é para ele que ainda ora.
Um filho, isto é tão de um pai, modo como um pai, isto é de um filho. Mãe é o maior presente que a vida dá. Na bomba de alegria que todo dia te motivam. Minha anjo de guarda guia, Deus mandava para acompanhar. Aquele metálico já não sabia que estava de pé para completar.
So after this, I did many campaigns, and I just realized them this week, on maternity, on sensitive women. You don't have to become a man to be strong. And also fundraisings where I would get these artists, but I would make them sing with my children. Whatever way they sing, people had to, you don't get to come and sing your famous song. You get to come and share a song with my little children from the hood, because I was already doing a lot of volunteer work. And this is based on a song from my father, which says, "Land, you know that each person deserves a drop of water," over equality. So my father's songs are considered like unofficial national anthems of Cape Verde, because they speak of equality and human rights. Again, with the same fellow, we are not friends anymore. Famous artists. My children.
Concerto Terra Vossa Meia, dia 1 de março, às 21 horas, na Assembleia Nacional.
So, it's just to show you a little bit my children, my youth. I have I think I've worked with more than 2,000 teachers and all kinds of people, from children to seniors, using music as music therapy, give them a voice, in prisons. Wherever they call me, I go. They even called me today, I remember, for a girl who was possessed by spirits. And I went there, I didn't know what to do. But I think she was really possessed because it was a serious exorcism case. I couldn't. So I'll show you, these children are from an orphanage. And I had to have a lady come and protect me from them because supposedly they were extremely violent. But we did yoga, and they told me they would never read music, but they were reading music in one day. And they were teaching. What I do is I empower them to teach their calling. So it's just this one. A little video.
I don't think it's working.
No.
Let me see.
No, okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's not working?
No.
Okay, it's okay, it's okay. We have enough videos, it's okay. Don't worry. It's just because since I work with music, I wanted you guys to hear. So, and then I just realized this, I work a lot with women also. I created this that is a performing arts project, the Show Factory. We get women from all kinds, victims of sexual violence, women who thought they shouldn't be on stage, they shouldn't sing, they didn't have the capacity to do all this. And we put up amazing shows where they felt really empowered. And even I was just amazed by the result of it. And then I created the first National Orchestra of Cape Verde. So all these groups I've been working with are groups considered impossible by all means, because either they're violent or they have no hope, or you shouldn't work with them, they're very difficult. And with me, it became a possibility, a dream. And now they teach other people also, they're creating their groups. So the first National Orchestra was an impossibility because we have no conservatoire, no schools, no music schools. How can you start from the, do you understand? Instead of starting here, you start here. But it was exactly to show people it was possible. This is possible, and it was an orchestra that merged, just like the Cape Verdean people are, from white and Africans. It merged classical music and our traditional music that we're very proud of. So I was the first woman to ever direct an orchestra in Cape Verde, of course. And I was nominated for Woman of the Year. And I was actually very mad. I said, this is my job. You are trifling people. This is futile. This is my job. But now I understand, because it was a woman, now I understand what it meant to other people. And so in 2016, the new government came, and they were very mad, and they did something that in Cape Verde never happens. We are very democratic, solid, poster child in Africa, and they destroyed the orchestra and all my projects, and they fired me, and they tried to finish my reputation in the country. Thank God, because I work with real people in the field, people did not believe them, so it worked against them. But anyways, here I was actually pregnant at the time. In the month I was fired. But before that, as you can see, suddenly I became a model. Because I gave an interview saying we have to stop this hair nonsense, this body nonsense, you know. We want to be skinny, we want to be everything we're not. So these people were very inspired by me, and they created this plus size movement. And I said, I'm not fat. I don't know why you're saying I'm plus size. But they said this on TV, I'm like, why are you? But then I became a model for this brand, ambassador of this brand, that is very expensive brand of necklaces and, enfim. That was me, the model. And then I was very worried about the certification issue, and I became a spokesperson for sustainable tourism and natural care and the environment, and I started teaching women how to make their own cosmetics and to use our resources, which is like the volcanic sand, the clays, the sea salt, everything we have, our dried flowers and herbs, our cactus. I don't know if you know, but the nopali cactus is more powerful than aloe vera in terms of skin regeneration. So here I was in another role, and I opened my company, my social enterprise of natural cosmetics, which is Badia Natural Cosmetics, that is being very successful right now. So now I'm an entrepreneur, and I work with women, teaching them how to create their own brands of cosmetics and crochet. I told you I had a project on this. And we were again nominated for innovation and entrepreneurship. So it's been good, I can say this. And my latest impossibility, the one the doctors say they don't know how it happened because I had almost like 6, 7 myomas on top of everything. Stella, my miracle star. And I hope, tell me that this is gonna play. Okay. So this is a bad video, but it was the one I found because I don't have access, because I'm banned from everything from the orchestra. I don't have access to anything, any material. I wanted to play a little bit of me playing with the orchestra that a fan sent us, like a clandestine video. And this little part says, it's the typical Cape Verdean thing. I dream, I dream, I dream, I dream. I daydreamed that my country was paradise, was a piece of heaven, filled with flower gardens. Oh God, please grant me this joy and make my dream come true. This is all we sing. We want to see, we usually say, if we had rain, we'd be on top of the world. We are very proud. And now I think I'm going to become an advocate for breastfeeding, because I'm thinking the situation is serious. You know what I'm talking about. So enjoy my orchestra. You can't see anything.
Okay, so our next speaker is Miss Gloria, and the title of her presentation is Shades of Violence.
No, until I get here. Soundtrack. Hi. How you doing? Hi. Hello. My name is Gloria. I'm from Uganda. And I am so many things, but I love the number 3. So I always do things in 3. So to give you
the threes of who I am. I am radical, I am queer, and I'm a feminist. I believe that there are 50 shades of violence against women. And in the lifetime of every woman, they face at least not less than 5 shades. And today I want to take you on a journey of my 3 shades of violence that shaped me into who I am today. My story starts in February 2017. I was traveling for work, and as I get off the plane, like as I get out of the airport, I meet this gentleman. His name was Andrew Felix Kawest. He was the Assistant Inspector General of Police in my country then, a very huge post. I was so excited to see him because it's not every day that you have access to such, high-profile people. I had a conversation with him. I asked for his contact in case police arrested me again. And I took a picture with him. I needed everyone to share in my joy, so I put this picture up on social media. Less than 28 days later, he's shot and killed in cold blood. One morning at 9 a.m., he's shot as he's on his way to work. I was at my workplace when I received the news, and he was a people's favorite, like everyone loved him. So his death came as a shock to the entire country, but also it brought a lot of emotion to everyone in the country. Over 8 hours later, I am somewhere enjoying myself, and I receive a call from a friend. And they asked me, have you been on social media today? I'm like, no. They're like, you need to go online. Like, you need to go online right now. Where I was at that point was a very noisy area, so I hadn't paid attention to my phone for close to 4 hours. So I reached out to my bag, I pull out my phone, and I have over 28 missed calls. And I'm wondering, why is everyone calling me? This is why they were calling me. Someone took an innocent picture, manipulated it, and created a story about me, saying I was a mistress to this man who had just been killed hours ago in cold blood. I was an ordinary girl by then. And in less than 24 hours, I was the name on everyone's mouth. The level of hate I faced on social media, I cannot even explain. My picture was everywhere. The comments were just killing me. People called me a bitch. People called me a whore. People called me a slut. People called me ugly. And the most frustrating thing is, this was a fake story. But in this era of social media, they don't care to verify anymore. You just wake up and create something and it's viral. And that's what happened. And for over a week, every morning, this picture came out with different headlines. Every morning. So every morning, people would go to newsstands to look for what angle this story had taken. And that whole time, no one ever thought of, what is this girl going through? I was bullied, I was rejected by even people I thought were my friends. Everyone did not trust me, even my family. My friends could not trust me with their husbands. I was a laughing stock. I was so afraid for my life, I could hardly move. I was getting threats of people who wanted to kill me because they were angry over the death. I could not go out. I spent over 4 days without food because I was afraid to go out. 4 days later, I walk out and I'm trying to catch a car to work, and someone recognizes me. I had to run back in the house. And I made a decision. the hijab is something they used to discriminate people. But for me, it was my refuge. I had to turn into a Muslim. I don't even know how I learned to tie this. But every morning, I would tie myself up, wear shades, and walk hoping not to be recognized. My second shade of violence. In the last 2 years, over 80 women have been killed in my country. They are kidnapped, raped, and killed. Then the bodies are dumped. Sometimes the kidnappers reach out to the parents of these children, other times they don't. But what is systematic about these deaths is every time a body is discovered, this girl is naked and a stick has been shoved down her vagina. Each and every one of these bodies appears like that. It can be any girl. Some of these girls have been taken from workplaces, others have been found on the street. Like any girl is at risk of that. And I wake up every morning afraid because I don't know who the next girl is going to be. The next girl could be my friend. The next girl could be my mother. But the next girl could also be me. Have you ever been in a situation where you're hungry it darkens at 7 in my country. By 7 it's dark. You're hungry at 7 in the evening, but you cannot go out to find something to eat because you're afraid that you'll be kidnapped. That is the reality of every young woman right now in my country. And as young women, we came together and requested a meeting with the security organs in my country because nothing is being done, nothing is being said. The girls are killed, there is no justice, it's like they don't matter. And most of these are young girls. We are the future of our country. And for our lives to be ended like that and no one cares, something has got to be done. So we asked for a meeting and they denied. They refused us to have the meeting. So we did what young people do, went to social media and mobilized young women to come on the streets and protest. And the night before the protest, the new Inspector General of Police put out a call and said, if any of you dares to go on the street, we shall arrest you. We went. And with us was the ambassador of the US in my country. She's called Deborah Malak. The police came with their cars to arrest everyone. And when they saw her, they couldn't do anything. And it broke my heart that it took the ambassador to come on the street with us for them to listen to us when we are the people that are being killed every day. I want to share a story. When I had just come to the college, I went to Manhattan for a walk and I failed to find my way back. So I took, I think, over 10 trains because I kept getting off at the wrong stop. And at some point, I was the only person in the subway. Just having a train trip, I think, because I kept getting off the train and getting back and on. And not for a single moment did I feel unsafe. And that broke my heart. Because I am here right now, but I'm going back home. I want to be able to feel safe when I go home. I want to be able to take the car and not get scared that I'll be taken and killed. My third shade. I'm a proud queer woman. Okay, not maybe proud, but queer. And I work with an organization called Freedom and Roam Uganda. We are an LBQ women's rights organization. And we ran this campaign last year on the 16 days of activism. And all the girls that we profiled had one demand. They wanted to be protected from corrective rapists. In my country, we have what they call corrective rape. This is what happens. When a lesbian or bisexual woman, when your parents or friends get to know that you're lesbian or bisexual, they arrange a rape because they assume that you're lesbian or bisexual because you have never been with a man. The most heartbreaking thing about the corrective rape is usually it's arranged by families, by people you know. So it's your parents or your friends or your siblings who arranged this. And I remember a situation where one day I was in bed. I received a call at 2 in the morning, and one of my members, a member of my organization, had been raped by friends in a bar. We go over to the scene, we take her to the hospital because we wanted her to be able to access PEP so she does not stand the risk of contracting HIV. And when we walk into the hospital, there were just nurses, like there were only women, we didn't find any men there. So we find this nurse, we sit down with her and talk to her. And because my friend is Massachusetts presenting, she refused to give her PrEP. She told her, I cannot give a homosexual PrEP because that will be a curse against me, I'm a Christian. I cannot sin knowingly. That was the only chance we had to save her. And because the nurse denied her access to medical care, she contracted HIV. She also got pregnant. She tried to terminate the pregnancy because she did not want to keep the pregnancy, but it all failed. Right now, she's living with HIV. She has her baby. But the most disappointing thing is, as a lesbian woman, she has been denied access to health care that would have saved her life simply because of her sexuality. And as a radical queer feminist, this is the journey I walk almost every day of my life. I'm afraid because I'm a woman, I'll be kidnapped. I'm afraid because I'm lesbian, they will rape me. I'm afraid because I'm an activist, they will defame me. The media will just have a party using me. And when the protest happened, we marched. This is a protest in Uganda where it is illegal to be gay. You can be sent to prison for being gay. But my friends marched, and we brought out this flag because we are tired of lesbians being raped, and the government does nothing. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Glory, for that presentation. Our next presenter is a woman by the name of Barbara, and the title of her presentation is Tales of a True Love's Kiss.
Hi, good evening. How are we this evening? Good. Are we having a good time? Yes. Yes, I really hope you're being inspired. And yes, I'm inspired by real life stories, and every time I do a lot of talking, but every time I get to sit down and listen to other stories, it makes a huge difference to me. My name is Barbara Kemigisa. I'm an HIV activist in Uganda, and yeah, I think this is the only thing I can do because it's the only thing I know how to do. Yeah, I don't have to read books for it because I've lived it through experience. Let me start by telling you a story. One day I was rushing from work to go to hospital to pick my ARVs, and I had to jump onto a public motorcycle. So as I waited, this guy comes and he's like, "Madam, thank you for looking hot." So I was like, "Oh, thank you for appreciating. I swallow my ARVs very well." So the guy was like, "Do you have AIDS?" I'm like, "No, I don't have AIDS, but I have HIV. So he's like, that's the same, I hate you guys. Get off my boda boda. We call them boda boda. Get off my motorbike. We had reached like the middle of the road. I didn't think he was serious, but actually he was dead serious. He just got out of the middle of the road to the side. And I got off the boda boda. Honestly, I just stood by the roadside and laughed. I laughed because most of the young people I have worked with the past 10 years were telling me of the discriminations they were receiving. And okay, yes, I believed because I know it happens, I have seen it happen, but I had never thought it would happen to me because I always presented this, strong face with me. So it happened to me. But that was not like the first thing that happened to me. I have been called a rotten avocado. That one. Do I look that? No! But I've been called a dead body. In Uganda, we are referred to as dead bodies because we have HIV. We are called so many things. The next slide, please. 570 girls get infected with HIV every week. I was sexually abused. Actually, my uncles started having sex with me when I was only 6 years old. Coming from uncles made sex so okay and normal. So I grew up having sex because to me it was just a game. As I grew into adolescenthood, I learned what sex was, but my body was already used. I could not live without having sex. So I started having sex with boys at school. I first got pregnant at the age of 15. When my family got to know about it, they terminated the pregnancy at 8 months. I was rejected. I had to spend most of my time on the streets of Kampala. I got pregnant again, and this time I tested HIV positive. I love Oprah Winfrey. I want to be like her when I grow up. Yes, turning my wounds into wisdom. And then I realized I have to be my own hero. Why do I call this Tales of a True Love's Kiss? This is my little book called Tales of a True Love's Kiss. Well, I know maybe some of us have read or watched the Snow White story. After the poisonous apple, she had to go into a deep sleep, and only a kiss from the true love, from the Prince Charming, would bring her back to life. Definitely that's a fairy tale. And there's no fairy tales in real life. So I realized there's no Prince Charming coming to give me that kiss of life from all the poison I had taken since I was 6. I learned that true love lied within me. I had to love myself. I had to accept me. I had to believe in me. I had to put all these things behind me and choose to live for what I believe in. Unfortunately, I did not know how. Anyone been in that place? You want to get out, you're stuck in some box and you don't even know how to get out? I had to lock myself in the room, and the mirror was my friend. I'll stand in the mirror and tell myself all the beautiful things I'd ever want someone to tell me. And ever since then, I don't really live by what people will say. I live because of what I feel I ought to do. Okay. That's my daughter, my miracle that got me to find out I was HIV positive. So on discovering I had to love myself and do all these things, the only thing I had was ARVs. Like your phones cannot survive without the power, right? Yes, no HIV positive person will live without their power bank, their ARVs. So I started to go tell my HIV story. It is the only thing I had no education, so I definitely could not get a job. So on telling my story, I would wear t-shirts with HIV positive messages. I would sit in a public bus, make sure it's time for my medicine. I'll get my bottle shake. I'll make sure the alarm goes so that everybody gets, I get everyone's attention. I'll pull out my bottle. Those things make a lot of noise, I'll shake the bottle, make sure everybody has listened. Get my bottle of water slowly and carefully, and then I'll swallow my pill in public. But sometimes I'll switch off my phone and pretend I'm counseling someone and I'm telling my story. So for all that time, people started asking for my number. I started going to schools to share my story, churches, camps, That's how my journey began. And before I knew it, I had a group of young people that believed in me. Families would bring in their children. I became an HIV activist, advocating to ensure that no HIV positive young woman was going to cry or feel they're missing out on life because they're simply HIV positive. That's me with my bold HIV positive sign. I'm not ashamed of me because I don't feel pain and I believe I can achieve. I think by being here for the Mandela Washington Fellowship is proof enough that I'm beyond the skies, right? Yes, and I'm unlimited by HIV. So living life for others, I realized nothing happened in my life as a mistake. So I had to turn my life around and I decided I'm going to share my story. We don't want to talk about the bad things that happen to us, but I realized many young people are being sexually abused, are being sexually harassed. They are disowned by their families. It's not their fault, So I say I'm going to share my story. I reach schools and I ask them to mention those names they would give to a girl who is sleeping around to every boy in school, and they start, Chibaf means a basin. Like everyone comes and bathes from it, They'll mention public socket, and I'm like, yeah, bring them on to beach, and for them it's fun. But most of them are actually living that kind of a lifestyle. And after sharing, they usually come and we talk about it. And so I have been able to share my story. This is a dress made out of empty ARV bottles. I wore it and people are saying, that dress is very, very heavy. And I'm like, yes, it's heavy. But it cannot compare to what it means to swallow these big pills every day for the rest of my life without having a stop. They cannot compare to being pregnant. You have to bring this child to life, but everybody does not believe you. Like, if you've not told the people around you, just know you're going to face stigma because they are going to say, why are you not breastfeeding our child when you're supposed to breastfeed? We give a syrup to a baby when that child is born. Why are you giving medicine to a newborn baby? I had to give my son a cotrimazole for like up to 1.5, but my doctor said I had to use breast milk. So whether I'm in a restaurant, in a public, I had to find out of squeezing that breast milk, put on a spoon and put that tablet, and make sure my son is born without HIV. And it is sad that today girls in Uganda are more scared of pregnancy than HIV. Today people say HIV is like malaria, but they cannot finish their malaria dose of a week. And we finish our dosages when we get them. Most of us definitely don't. When we feel we are fine, we end it there. But we don't have that option. Sorry. Ending new HIV infections. Today, my viral load is undetectable.
So I'm married to an HIV negative husband. We have an HIV negative son. And to me, that's the biggest achievement. And ending new HIV infections is a reality because of medication. Unfortunately, most of the young people in Uganda don't have what it takes to be able to solve their medicine. We don't have food, we don't have a safe home, there are drugs shortages all the time, we are faced with rejection, most of them are homeless. So I decided to start Pilpa Uganda, an organization that empowers young people to recycle empty ARV bottles. This is a group of young people. We are teaching them how to recycle their empty ARV bottles. We tell our stories using this. We sell them and make money for a living. We also make paper beads. These are necklaces made out of our prescription papers that come with our medicine. We decided to turn our stories around because this is a group of young girls. We do support groups, and it was time for taking medicine, and we all had to pull out our pill time, and we took it all together. So I believe by supporting these young girls, we are all going to reach a point when our viral loads are undetectable and we won't pass on the virus. I believe we cannot control the lifestyles of people, but if we that are living with HIV did something to ensure that we protect others, definitely HIV will end with us. So that's my dream. I'm working towards it, and I'm calling on you to be part of it. Yes? And I know I will be a very bad team leader if I didn't tell you to buy this, because I'm supposed to sell them and make sure we have a home and food. Yes, please, the next slide. And this is my personal story. So you know personal stories are supposed to be very expensive. Eh? Yeah. So yes, so with only $20, you get to feed a young woman living with HIV for just a week. Can you survive on $20 for one day? That is miracle for a young person in Uganda. And for $20, you contribute to a safe house for this young person living with HIV. Thank you very much. I'm shy. Okay, have a great evening.
Thank you, Barbara, for that great presentation. And our second to last of the night is Anna Vies, and the title of her presentation is called The Cinderella Effect.
So, like Lance, I'm going to hide away behind.
You must pass.
Can you kindly clap again for the ladies that were up on stage? So my name is Anoziva Marindire, and I am from Zimbabwe. I am a gender activist using journalism, education, technology, advocacy, and poetry to build communities of young, empowered, technologically empowered superheroines. These are my girls. So I run an after-school program called Girls Speak Out, where we train girls how to use code, how to use digital media, which is mobile journalism, and blogging. And we also train them how to be advocates on issues that they are passionate about within their communities. So my topic tonight is the Cinderella effect, reshaping the images of women in media. So I'm going to ask you to think about all the ladies that came up on stage and think about the stories that they were telling. And think if those are the stories that you grew up seeing when you imagine women or girls or however you might want to term it, ladies, etc. Were those ladies the images you saw, or was this the image that you had when you were growing up? So as a child, I loved comic books, I loved watching cartoons. The TV was my best friend. Because I had challenges with seeing, I was bullied a lot at school. So I didn't have a lot of friends, so the TV became my very best friend. And so I would spend most of my time watching TV, watching Cinderella, Snow White, but I wasn't really interested in those stories. I wasn't really interested in fairy tales. I loved comics. I loved watching the Power Rangers. I'm giving away my age, by the way, because I know some of you might not know that cartoon or that comic. So I wasn't really interested in the stories of Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty. I was more interested in the Power Rangers. I loved the Pink Ranger. Forgive my language, but she kicked butt. I thought Rogue from the X-Men she was cool. And my all-time favorite, Storm, she was wise, intelligent, and beautiful. I never identified with Cinderella because she was a damsel in distress, and she needed a prince to save her. So whenever I would watch Cinderella with my sisters, I would always ask, why couldn't Cinderella save herself? She had legs. She could run. When the world often looks at women, this is the image they see. Us always needing a helping hand, a Prince Charming to come and complete us, complete our dreams, give us meaning. When I listen to women speak in my country, or even here, as we've been speaking amongst ourselves, amongst some of the women that I've met within the US, the conversation somehow always leads to either keeping a man or getting a man. I know the ladies know what I'm talking about. And this kind of reiterates the idea that we are not complete without a man by our side. You know, I've seen, and maybe just speaking because I'm speaking to people in the medicine field, and from where I come from, the medical field is regarded very high. If you are a medical student, then you definitely must be very intelligent. And you have ladies within that field who have done amazing things. Recently we had 2 women in Zimbabwe who performed a miraculous operation on twins that had never been performed in Zimbabwe before. And one of the headlines in the media was single. When it was describing the lady, it had to put single as if there was something missing. Even though she has done this very good thing, there is still something that is missing. Because I don't see people defining married women in the paper as saying they have to put like married so and so, she did this great thing. So one of my friends asked on social media a few months ago, he asked a question to some of us, the ladies on the group, asking why some of the ladies that he knew had given up on the dreams that they had when they were in school. And these dreams had the potential to change the world. But somehow when they got married, they put it aside and they forgot about it. This got me thinking that when I sit in circles of women, like I said, even in formal settings, the conversation literally always ends around getting Prince Charming, getting that house, and getting those kids. And then I come from a very religious community, and the prophet or the pastor is someone who's highly regarded. And when he meets your mother on the street, if you're unmarried, the first question he will ask is, I will pray for your daughter. Because by now she should be married. The question they will ask is, that means, is she married? And then when you go for gatherings, like family gatherings, or when your friends or your cousins get married and you meet your aunt, she will ask, meaning, when are you getting married? I call it the Cinderella effect. We are being socialized, or we are socialized growing up, to imagine that marriage is the ultimate goal. It is the end. So when we achieve that or attain marriage, everything else pales in comparison. So we give up our dreams, the dreams of saving the world, the dreams of becoming the Captain Planets of the world, of becoming G, of becoming Pink, the Pink Ranger, of kicking butt. We give it up because we have attained the highest of achievements. So one of my favorite writers, Chimamanda Adichie Ngozi, her name is a bit tough on my tongue because I'm Shona. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie says our society teaches a woman at a certain age who is unmarried to see it as a deep personal failure, while a man at a certain age who is unmarried has not quite come around to making his peak. How many times do you sit with your male friends, or to the gentlemen, how many times do you sit in circles and discuss or ask each other, why are you not married at 28? Did you even ask yourself that question? Or maybe you're talking about, is there someone who actually does? That's not the point. Most times I've sat amongst my male friends, I think the conversation really ever ends around marriage. So I said I work to create communities of young superheroes who are using technology. These are the images I want them to grow up seeing. Strong women characters. So my talk today is not to get you discouraged or to get you thinking negatively about marriage. Definitely not. Definitely not. But it's to let you see how we are subconsciously conditioned to see our daughters, our sisters, ourselves, our nieces, and how we subconsciously condition them or condition our daughters to see themselves as well. We condition our little sisters and our nieces into believing that a stage in their life that should mark a beginning is the end. We condition our daughters to believing that a start of a new journey is the ultimate goal. I only want to challenge you tonight to begin looking at what you are feeding into the minds of your daughters and your little boys. How is the information getting into their heads and into their sight, shaping their perceptions of themselves, their abilities, and the abilities of others around them? And where you have the opportunity, please whisper into their little ears that they too, those little girls, they too, they can rescue or save that prince in distress or that boy in distress. They too can become firefighters. They too can be soldiers that can save a nation. So my fascination with comic characters manifested in real life. In 2015, my friends at the Comic Republic in Nigeria honored me with creating a comic character based off the work I do after I was nominated for an award. It was so humbling to think, and it is still humbling, to think that some girl in Zimbabwe, some girl in Ghana or Nigeria, or even in the US, will see this comic book and think, I can be just like her. I want to be just like her. Just like I wanted to be like Storm. And they too can be, due to the images they see. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. I think we're supposed to have one more presentation. I know they're not on the program, but Nick, is he here? Okay.
Yes, good evening. Are people tired? Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm Nico Cage from Kenya. I was not supposed to present today because I was meeting my hub leader in town, and they canceled the meeting an hour or two. So I thought maybe I can share with you a project. So I came here and I found a room full of doctors. And I was like, now let me show you how we as computer programmers want to help you with some other information like sexual health. I'm a sexual health advocate in Kenya, and we came up with this wonderful idea, innovative idea to help young people access information. We are using Facebook chatbot messenger. What's an idea of what chatbot is?
Snapchat or
Chatbot.
Facebook. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, messenger chatbot. So I'll show you in a while how chatbots look like. So I grew up in a rural setting in Kenya, but I was privileged to undertake my undergraduate studies at a city university. I was in Nairobi University. So I did my undergraduate in electrical engineering. I finished my school. My parents were happy. They connected me to another uncle who was running a consultancy firm in Nairobi. It was an energy consultancy firm where we could go to factories, do energy audits, then come with results and get lots of money. So it was during this time when I went home, people can travel to their rural areas, yeah? During a holiday, it was a long holiday, 3 weeks. So I usually go to a market center in my country. I don't know, we don't have market centers here. If you go to a rural area, there's only one market center, mostly in Africa, where people come during market days and they sell things and such stuff. So I had a friend who opened a small computer shop there. So I always I always went there when I was on holiday. I always went to his place to help him out, just with typing and everything, just for fun, yeah? So his computer center was near a police station. So there was this woman who came. She wanted a police abstract. I don't know whether you know what police abstract is. If you abuse or if you fought with someone and you feel they infringe your right or something, you go to police station. Then they give you the abstract, which gives you P3 for medical purposes. Now the doctors will fill the P3 and you can sue them. So this woman came, she was named Lucy. She wanted a police abstract. But she was physically abused the previous night. And she got the abstract and went back to the police. Then she came back for photocopy of when police had filled the abstract, she came back to do a copy of the document. So I asked her what the problem was, because the face was she was badly hit. So what was the problem? She told me her husband beat her up like the previous night because she discovered that she was using family planning pills, and the husband did not know. So I decided that with my knowledge in programming, why can't I come up with something that can help these young people to access this information first before maybe they get into it. So that's why I developed the Facebook chatbot. And my Facebook chatbot, I named it LucyBot, just to celebrate the lady. So LucyBot is a Facebook Messenger chatbot which disseminates information on sexual health and also HIV information. So I'll just show you how it works. It works on an artificial intelligence system. That means that we feed that bot with the information. Then young people from all over the world, young people can access Facebook Messenger, can access that information from there. So as an administrator, maybe you might see some addition, like the messaging and everything. So maybe I'll give an example with someone who has a mobile phone, and that mobile phone has a Facebook Messenger and also an internet connection. I think that will be better. Who has a mobile phone with Facebook Messenger? Let me use Maggie's phone. So this is like the admin landing page, yeah? So not everybody will have to see this. So if people are chatting with the bot, I'm able to see what they're asking, and that information, I only use it for informational purposes only. We don't use that information on any other event or something. So when Maggie started chatting with the bot, so when they're chatting with the bot, you can see what's happening. You see? That's me, I can see it. Not everybody can see that. So, Maggie, can you just interact with the bot a bit? Yeah. Then I'll show them.
Interacting, I promise.
Sorry. So, right now it is structured because we want to ensure that people, they get, sexuality education is very conservative in Africa. We don't talk openly about it. So right now what we did, because we cannot know what everybody thinks and what everybody will ask, what we did was it's more structured now. We have a structure which people follow and get this information. So Maggie was just telling us how it works. So I want to interact with this so that you see how it works, yeah, from my side. So when I start to chat with it, you'll see like my name also. You see that? So when I start now to chat with it, so immediately you start chatting with it, you land at this like that menu there. So when someone is talking to it, the person like engaging currently is the one who goes up. Yeah. So what it will do, like it will greet you like just like a human being. Yeah? You are chatting like you are chatting with a human being, and yet it's not. This machine learning, so it's the computer which will be chatting with you, and it's just personalized. Yeah? So it will greet you by the name, then introduce itself, what it is. Then you will just click that button there, let's go. Yeah? Because it's structured now. We don't want to like answer all the questions. You cannot know all the questions that people think. So I just go to let's go. Then it will give me this menu here. So that menu contains a lot of information. Like for example, you can find contraception provider in Siaya or Homa Bay County. Siaya County is where I work. So if a young person comes to this page here, you can actually find a contraception provider, maybe a hospital which provides such services, or a HIV test clinic which provides the HIV test services. So the menu is quite huge. Number two, we have like trivia, like they can interact with it. This trivia was from the UNFPA website. They were just giving out information on Facebook, then I saw it twice, maybe you can put it as a trivia. Then you also have questions of pregnancy, for example. So let's say I have a question on pregnancy. I just go to ask. Then it will like start explaining something. So it will explain that. Then we came up with like the basic question that people ask when they feel that they might be pregnant or something. So let's, for example, we use the first question. Yeah? I had sex without protection, am I automatically pregnant? Then let me ask that. I'm actually chatting with it on my phone so that you're able to see what's happening. So this, if you ask that, then this is what it will give you. There's a chance you might get them no matter what. I will read all this. Then we also give like links to where they can get more information, because you cannot give all information at once in this board here. People will get bored with it. So if someone needs more information, they can actually go to those links and get that information. So there's also a button here, like connect with us. Connect with us is like just a button where they can provide us with their emails and phone number so that we can engage our impact. So we see if are we like helping them or such stuff. It's for monitoring and evaluation. So my organization is called Paradigm Youth Network Organization. So it's like it's talking to you so that you can give this information. So once you have your phone number, then we can actually call you or make a database so that we can actually refer to like, are you experiencing any problem anymore? Things like that, yeah, for monitoring and evaluation so that we know we are actually making impact. So if I choose phone number, for example, so I just come here, then I tap. It can actually like get your phone number from Facebook. So you see like this one here. So just click if that's your phone number. Then I have it. This phone number will be sent to my email address. So you can make a database of all the phone numbers of people like interacting with the bot. So what we are doing here is that we are trying to make doctors' work more easier. This information the doctor should not provide it. The doctor should actually provide the physical, like medical examination and things like that. So we give the youth this information so that when they go to the hospital, they know what they are going to do. And also they know, so what the doctor will do is really simple, like to diagnose the problem, then give the treatment. We are removing the counseling session from the doctors, you see. So we are removing some burden from the doctor. So when I came to this room and I found a room full of doctors, I thought maybe I can challenge you in the machine maybe are taking some part of your work, but I think it's making it easier. Yeah. So that's my innovation, and that's what brought me here. Thank you.
I really sincerely want to thank the speakers. I think you've shared so much. You've inspired us. Do you all agree? We've been moved. I would have opened it to questions, but I feel like we all need to go home and think about everything and absorb it and process it. You've impacted our lives. Thank you so much for what you've